Yeah, times are tough. I hear the city of Windhoek has even resorted to fining street kids 500 Namibian dollars for begging. Etse. What is this world coming to? Our ministers are living lavish, subsidized existences on our tax dollar, and the Anti-Corruption Commission finds nothing wrong with the National Council's chairperson, Margaret Mensah, using her official vehicle to explore Cape Town this December. Ma'am. Meanwhile, Namibian citizens who are at the mercy of state services had to endure not only the foul stench of human excrement in the private wards of the Windhoek Central Hospital, but also the humiliation of having to resort to a bucket system to get the toilets to work. Just listen to this.
I think the fact that I ended up at the state hospital was a blessing in disguise, because I'm I'm a public servant who uses government facilities. I got so shocked when I was hospitalized. I stayed in hospital for 13 days. I was having a cyst which had ruptured, and it was very painful, and it was inflamed, and I couldn't walk properly. So I was hospitalized in Central Hospital, the first floor, room 9 East, which is a private ward. To the shock of my life, I was on the drip because I was very weak and the toilet was not flushing. So, and I asked why the toilet was not functioning, and I was told that it was reported to the Ministry of Works several times. It was because of budget cuts. I got the shock of my life when it was explained to us how the toilet is being used there was a heavy bucket out of metal, so we had to pour it like this. And then if you're on a drip, it's also pulling you. Then sometimes the needle moves out of place. I never imagined that the bucket system would be a normality at the hospital. So which means abnormal things are now being validated. They are being made normal, because you expect a hospital to be all about sanitation and to adhere to basic hygiene standards. So while we were there, we couldn't even eat, because you are so disgusted. It is smelling so bad. Just knowing that at least a pit latrine is better. But if you are in one room with your feces, it must be one of the most traumatizing things. And no matter what you are brought, your appetite just goes away. So I'm very happy to be home. And I'm very happy to recover. At least, it's things that we take for granted. I always took a toilet for granted until I was hospitalized and I didn't have a proper functioning one. But I must say that the nurses were fine. They were always willing to assist. But the nurses have also mentioned that some of the motivation is low, because I think the overtime, some have not received their overtime. And so I just think, the nurses have not picked up that most of the people who are in rooms with buckets were unable to eat because they were disgusted. So if a nurse does not pick up that after 5 days or after 6 days that the plates are returning, then it could get dangerous, because if a person gets dehydrated, then you can lose a life over a simple thing. I think it's unacceptable. No matter where in the world a bucket system finds itself in the hospital, whether it's New York or whether it's the smallest town in Nepal, Namibia, it's unacceptable. And I don't want to know if that is what a private ward looks like. I don't want to know what a general ward looks like. I don't want to know. I think, the fighting in the Ministry of Health has maybe affected how the hospitals are being run. I don't know. I hope that our minister is aware of it, and I hope that there is no next person in room number 9.
I spoke to the Ministry of Health, Dr. Uirab, about this sad state of affairs.
We had one of our water pumps breaking because of all these things were installed. Let me put it this way. The hospital was commissioned in 1982, and if you can imagine, lots of the plan of the hospital is quite old. So we do have maintenance challenges now and then. So the water pump broke, and then of course the water pressure in some parts of the hospital was affected. Because of the low pressure, the face basins would still get water, but the toilets couldn't flush because the water pressure wasn't enough to fill up the cistern. So in the wards, the sisters were then using water from the taps, buckets, to flush in the toilets so that they could at least get the waste out. Yeah. And that was not only on the first floor. My office, the administrative offices are on the basement. The toilets there were also affected. We couldn't flush them. There will be maintenance problems that happen. And we will have to fix them as they happen, as it happens to any building. When the pump was fixed, it all came back to normal.